Hello and welcome to another video by the Laser Sports Academy. In today's video, we're going to be doing a position breakdown, this time on the last line position. The last line is like a position that's the linchpin of any defense, right? So many games can be won and lost based on the performance of a last line and also the support that they get from their door defenders and their teammates. But it also being such an important position means it can be extremely stressful, and in high pressure situations, it can be difficult to make sure you're always making the right decisions. So that's why we'll break down the main objectives and then how that informs our priorities when we're in this position. So the main overarching objective of the last line position is to prevent attackers from destroying the base. By extension, this means that the main objective is to not be tagged out, since in most cases, an attacker can't start to put shots on the base before tagging the last line without just getting denied. Obviously, there are some cases where the bases are set up where you can do that, but for the most part, even if that was the setup, it is still going to be, there's going to be an element of risk. Like, the best way to do it is to take out the last line first. So, thusly, our priorities whilst we're in this position are as follows. Number 1, staying alive or staying active. Number 2, reacting to comms. And number 3, preventing 2 attackers from being active at a time. And just quickly before we move on, I had a look at the YouTube analytics, and there's around 47% of our viewers that aren't subscribed yet. So if you like the channel, you enjoy what you're watching, and you want to show some support, we would really appreciate if you subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post new videos. But yeah, let's get right into it now.
Right, so the first of the priorities we're going to talk about is the idea of staying alive. Seems super obvious, but the reality is our main objective is to stop the base from getting destroyed. If the last line is alive and active, the enemy attackers in most cases, unless there's like a weird base set up, won't be able to put any shots in the base without pretty much guaranteed being denied, right? So staying alive and valuing staying alive for as long as possible is super important. How that affects my decision making is, as a last line, I want to be a little bit more careful about my movements throughout the base. Depending on the base setup, there'll be times where if I'm just like carelessly walking through the base, I step this way, there could be a guy super far away that I didn't realize that was there, and I've just been tagged, that was just a door defender pushed up, their teammate comes in, takes the base, damn. And all that was because I was careless about my movements through the base. Another really great way of prolonging how long you're active in the base is always watching one direction at all times. That's something that I see newer last lines do quite a lot is, let's say they're being attacked or maybe they're not being attacked. It's really easy to, like if your door defenders are calling clear and clear, they're dominating on the outside, or when you're not being attacked, to kind of lose focus and go, oh, I'm just going to kind of chill here. Like I've seen this happen so many times. They'll chill, they might start laughing with the ref if they're playing a competition. All of a sudden, someone's come that they weren't, that slipped past their defenders. Always watch one way so you can account for that. The last thing on staying alive is, basically, if you want to be an effective last line, you need to be able to win in those one-on-one situations where someone is set up in a position like Jesse is now, and they're going to try and lunge me out. If you're finding yourself in these kind of situations, like losing out more often than you're winning, then that's an area of your game that you really want to, if you want to be an effective last line. And to be honest, that skill set is important everywhere, but paramountly so in the last line position. If you're not winning 90-95% of these kind of encounters, that's an area of your game where you need to devote a significant amount of time to drilling until you get to that kind of that success rate. The second of the priorities is the reacting to my teammates' comms. Comms is obviously a super important part of the game in all aspects of the game, but especially in this defensive scenario where me as the last line, while I'm in the base, I've got the baselines and I've got good cover, I also have the least information out of everyone in the game. So I need to rely on my teammates on the outside to give me good comms. That being said, if I'm not reacting to those comms, this can happen particularly if it's a very stressful situation, or maybe you're just not a confident last line. Sometimes you'll hear the comm from your teammate, they say front now, and you're just you hear it, but you don't process it, and then you just don't turn, you don't shoot, and you're like, why didn't I do that? I think everyone's had a moment like that. So it's really important to try and one, clear your mind, but 2, be ready to react to the comms. It's not enough to hear them, you have to be ready to change what you're doing, because if I'm in a position like back pocket in red and I'm watching the back door and I get a comm from my teammate, I need to be able to adjust my positioning slightly to then deal with that threat properly.
Loading front.
Only 2 tries. How good. Right, so the last of the priorities we're going to talk about is preventing 2 attackers from being active at once. So as we were saying in the previous priorities, being able to win your one-on-ones, like when people are loading on the baseline or they're trying to lunge you out or something, is one of the most important, like if not the most important skill set as a last line. If you're not winning those one-on-ones, then you might as well not even be in the base. You might as well just take a duel out in the open, because if they're just going to lunge you out most of the time, you're going to take your base most of the time, right? One of the things that separates the best last lines from everyone else is not only do they very, very, very rarely mess up those one-on-ones, like the one person lunging them, right? But also, one of the most common ways, like if you have a really good last line that doesn't mess up the one-on-ones, the way they get shot out is by 2 attackers being active at once. Whether they're on the same side and they do like some kind of a pin or something, or they go separate doors and they get like a pincer. The best players in the last line position are proactive in preventing the 2 players from being active at once from happening. Depending on the base setup, that's not always easy to pull off. If you have a super OP last line position, maybe you don't need to, but in most last line positions, with a little bit of proactivity, you should be able to, you're not going to be able to ever completely stop 2 attackers from being active at once, right? That's very, 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 very difficult, but you should be able to at least mitigate how often that's able to happen. If you're mitigating it, then that's less bases that you're losing, right? Loading front.
That wraps it up for our video for today. So if you have any suggestions for other videos that you'd like to see in the future, drop it down in the comments, or you can let us know on the Facebook group. But until then, we'll see you next time.